It's definitely just, you have to make sure you're completely committed to, music. If you're just half into it, or, you can do things as a hobby, but if you do want to get into music, you just have to jump in head first.
You have to love it.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to jump in with, no regrets, and you have to forget about, what any other people are saying, or, any doubts that people might have. But it's, you have to make sure you love it, first of all. But second, that you put all your effort into it and you just jump in and get immersed with it.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Roe Show. This week we have Annalisa and Julian Pavone. This dynamic brother and sister musical duo have traveled all over singing and drumming with some of the world's top artists and celebrities all across America. Julian is a Guinness World Record holder as the youngest professional drummer since age 4. Annalisa is an expert vocalist and helps Julian with producing, editing, and songwriting as a team. We discuss what it takes to be a professional musician, technology in music, and Annalisa even gives us a vocal ref later on in the episode. By the end, it will be clear that developing an athletic career is not any different than a musical one. Alright guys, let's go. Hey Julian, Annalisa, thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you? Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Well, it's great. I remember when you guys were just little ones, AIRTIME Trampoline Park, I think it was, and stuff there. It's been so long.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're glad to be back and glad to see you again.
Yeah, no, man, it's great. I've been watching you guys, and you guys have really grown up and really have a story to tell, which is why we wanted to get you on the podcast, because our audience really likes to hear stories of different successful people that have made their way, and obviously you guys have kicked butt. So I guess the first thing is let our audience know, how did you get here? You're the world's youngest drummer, and Annalisa, you are amazing with the vocals, and you guys have kind of teamed up together in some ways. Can you walk our audience through how that happened and kind of your start in all of this?
So for me, at least, I started in the womb pretty much. So my dad would put headphones on my mom's stomach and he would play music, and I would kick at a very regular tempo and pace. And, my dad said he's going to be the world's youngest professional drummer. So ever since the womb pretty much, and as soon as I got out, my dad threw me on the kit. I was on his lap playing the drums with him, and it just escalated from there.
That's cool. But you were listening to, you could hear it in the womb, right? Like, what do you remember the song? Was it the Beatles or something like that?
I think it was definitely one of the Beatles. It was, do you remember the song? Dad might have told you. I Am the Walrus. That's right. Yep.
That is very cool. That's very cool. Okay, so you have rhythm built into you, would you say? Or was it something more learned?
I think it was definitely built into me a little bit. But yeah, definitely from a young age, I was just always around music. So whether I learned it or I was built with it, it's something that just stuck with me.
That's awesome. So you started drumming, and Annalisa, you're giving a lot of support at this time. You're there kind of just motivating him, say, let's go.
Yeah, always. Ever since I was little, I always remember being so proud and I don't know, it's just something to look up to always.
That's always good. It's in athletics, it's a lot of team effort. Mom and dad are there, the parents are there, the coaches are there, heck, the federation's there. Everyone comes together. So I think it's really cool that you guys have a family unit that's all worked together. It's great.
Yeah.
But then how did this progress? So you're kicking, you're drumming, you're doing all this sort of stuff. I think if I remember correctly, you had your first CD out when you were 20 months old?
I was 20 months old, I think. I recorded it at 19 months. And I think we released it at 20 or 21 months. And
were those your songs or those covers for other songs?
So those are all my songs. That's me. And I was playing with Ralph Armstrong. And I'm not sure if you know who he is, but he's a big legendary bassist. And so that's all the tracks were with me, him, and even my dad are on a couple of them.
Your dad can drum too?
He can drum, yeah.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So he was really the one who taught you and then kind of got you into all these sort of thing. And then just developed a career and just
Yeah.
one led to another.
So my dad was like my first drum teacher, really.
That is so cool. That is so cool. Now, why drumming though? Why not trampoline? You know, why not something like that? Why drumming? What was it?
So I think it had something to do maybe with the kick. That might have been the seed that started it all. But ever just because my dad was a drummer, so I would sit on his lap, I would sit behind the kit, and I think that's what really started it. It's because my dad was a drummer, and you know he would put me behind the kit and then play around, and then I would start hitting the drums a little bit, and he saw that there was something that could be, you know, I could turn into something.
So it was more thinking like career wise and think, okay, if you got something, you go for it, rather than, you know, putzing around with a million different things. If you got something from an early age, you kind of stick to it. Was that the strategy?
I think it was just not that I couldn't choose any other paths, but it was just that was so obvious and something that it was an opportunity we couldn't miss.
Right, definitely. And what about you, Annalisa? Your music and all that. Why singing? Why not pick up the drums as well or guitar?
I like growing up when I was really little. I've been singing since I was very young. I can't even remember, but I got my ticket for a long way down. 2 bottles whiskey for the way. And I'll show you one night soon, sweet company. I'm leaving tomorrow, say. I think my dad would push me and he'd say, like, you have such a talent for it. And I just really enjoyed it. So I was like, why not pursue it?
I remember a story though of you were in the car, I think.
Yeah.
And you know, there was a song playing and mom heard you like hitting the notes, and our mom told our dad like she's actually hitting the notes. And so that was the start for Annalisa.
That's so music is in the family. It's not just you guys. The whole family is all in on this.
Yeah.
That is very, very cool. Now, you have done a lot of really cool stuff, though. You guys have been on Oprah. You guys have done Guinness World Records, all these kind of things. Which one was your favorite?
My favorite, I think, was Oprah for sure. But actually, at the time, it was either Oprah or Ellen, and we just went with Oprah. But so I haven't done Ellen yet. That would be a pretty cool one to do. But with Oprah, you know, she was just. I loved her pretty much. Even I just remember being really connected to her, and it was a really fun experience for me. And I think, I don't know, is it Jay Leno for you?
For sure.
Yeah.
I think Jay Leno was awesome. I think we had such a good opportunity getting to meet Betty White. I think that was awesome. And just doing it with Julian was just such an experience. I think that made it so much more fun.
And I don't want to take any credit, though. You were the whole reason we got on the show. So they really just wanted Annalisa. But, you know, I was a little bit of a tag along, but it's all good.
Hey, that's good. Was that the one where we were supposed to get going there and then it just didn't work out?
Yeah, that was the one.
Oh man, yeah, I messed that one up. That's that one. We ended up filling out the customs forms wrong, so then all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, what are you doing?" Blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't know, and then it was all over. So we're very careful now how we cross the border. Yeah. But that is cool. So what about the show? Like, what was the experience like? Were you nervous? Was it like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, or was it like, well, I've trained this a million times, so this is easy peasy? Like, what was going through your mind?
For me, at least, I remember I was like, just have fun, you know, enjoy the experience. And I just remember I was like, my family's watching, so, you know.
You got to put on a show.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to
I think I was like 7, so I was just like, you know, I was a baby. Yeah.
Yeah, and for me personally, I don't remember really performing. I remember that I did the performance, but I don't really remember specifically of, you know, being behind the kit in all my shows. But for Oprah, at least, I just remember, you know, it was more of like the connection I had with Oprah herself. I thought she was the coolest person. And, you know, just to be around her, that was probably the best part.
And but is she like, you know, we dealt with TV people, and you know, there's always the camera face and then there's the regular face. Is there any of that, or is she genuine all the time and that's why you look really connected?
Oprah's definitely genuine. She's 100% real. So I think that's definitely why I was drawn to her so much.
That is so cool. That's so. But you're saying that you were so young that almost you didn't really get nervous in front of the crowds. You didn't really kind of pay attention. You're just focusing on the thing
Yeah.
that you do. And would you say that that's stuck with you now as you've done more and more of these?
Definitely.
100%.
So you tune everything out.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Or I just get more excited. Like the bigger the crowd is, the more excited I get.
Yeah.
Instead of getting more scared, I get more excited for the opportunity and to be able to be in front of this many people.
Now, so that's interesting. So what about that? Is it just because more people are recognizing your talent, or is it because it's more worthwhile and you'll get more benefits out of it? Or what's the calculation happening here? You ever really thought about that?
I mean, I think, it was definitely just awesome to see so many people in the crowds. It was like more people to please, and performing, whatever, we couldn't be shy. Like shy was a bad word in our house. I remember my
That was
dad.
the S word.
Yeah. Like my dad growing up, he'd be like, we'll go to a grocery store. He's like, say hi to them, say thank you. It was always growing up very outgoing. So we were never shy growing up. And I think that definitely has an impact with how we are when we go on stage.
Yeah. And I'm a performer at heart. So it doesn't matter. Even if I'm singing, I can't sing anywhere near Annalisa, but I'm going to put on a show. And I think, to see people in the crowd smiling and laughing at, my performance, it's a great feeling. And that's why when I see more faces, it's like there's more people appreciating it.
Right.
That is cool. Okay, so you've been trained from a young age to be okay with being in front of people. Where, there's a lot of parents that kind of take the other way and so to try to defend the kids and kind of shelter them a little too much. But your dad's like, no, heck no, get out there and show the world what you got right from the start. Yeah. I love that. Yeah. That is amazing. And do you think that has made a difference for you guys compared to maybe some of your colleagues or other performers that maybe aren't so comfortable?
Yeah. Even to this day, our dad will be like, go out there, heart and soul.
Mm-hmm. Heart and soul was a big word, I remember. Yeah, and he would always, when I was behind the kit and like I was playing, I would look over at my dad all the time. And if he's doing this, that means, just, enjoy the experience.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Coming from more of an athletic perspective, it wasn't performing for me. I was performing for my country or for my gym club or whatever it was. I never got that feeling because I never really got to be, it wasn't ever my show. I was just a performer on the show. So now this is, I don't like competing. I don't like being in front of big audiences. We have to, but it's not really, I'm not comfortable. I wish I had your dad helping me out when I was a kid. Maybe I'd be more comfortable with it. But my question then becomes, when it's not like a big crowd, is there a change in your mentality? It's like, this venue only has a couple thousand people. Oh, this is boring. And it's only when it's a big crowd, or is it all the time?
I think it's always, no matter who it is, no matter how many people, you always have to put out the same performance, because being a performer, it's all about consistency, and you always have to be you, no matter who the crowd is, no matter how many people there are.
That is true. Once you kind of release what you release, now it's always just got to get better, right? It can't get worse. Right. And there's a lot of pressure with that. So when you come up with your first CD, for example, was now everyone saying, well, when he's 2 years old, he better be now doing this and all that sort of stuff? Or was it just because you were a kid that everyone was just like, oh my God, this is amazing?
I think there were people from both, sides of the spectrum, people that, thought how crazy it was for a 20-month-old baby to be, playing the drums. And there were people definitely supporting that. But at the same time, there's always people that are going to doubt it and, discredit me. But just, to know that there's people that also support me, it balances out everything.
You guys had critics even at that age? I couldn't have ever imagined being a critic to a baby.
Yeah. There's just people saying, oh, he's just making noise, or, like anybody could do that. But yeah, it's always been like that.
But you actually would remember the beat. Like you could repeat it. It's not like every time you came with a new song, like you could play on command.
Pretty much, yeah. And even with songs that I've never heard before, I've realized this too, because that's my favorite way to practice. That's my favorite way to play the drums, and just work on my technique and my sound, is just to play to other songs. So I've developed like a little bit of a skill of where I listen to a song maybe once or twice and I can play it close to perfect. I don't want to say perfect, but close. And it's super cool because that's my favorite part of drumming is just playing to songs.
So you find a song that you like, one that has a good tempo or whatever, or
Yeah.
challenging in one way or another, and then you kind of recreate that. But you don't read from sheet music. You just kind of use it.
Well, I like to learn from ear, but I can also read sheet music. So when I think I was how old, like 7, I think I did Tom Sawyer by Rush, and I was actually 6. So I did Tom Sawyer by Rush, and I read that note for note. And there's a video of that on YouTube, but I personally prefer learning from ear. It's easier for me. But when I also have the sheet music, then it becomes perfectly locked in, and it's like there's no mistakes with my ear if I mishear something.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I played guitar when I was younger, and I would have to learn by ear because they didn't have all these tabs and all that sort of stuff that they do.
Right.
So I had to learn. I had a guitar teacher to help me. So I get it. It felt more authentic when I could do it that way rather than just recreating you know. And Annalisa, is that the same for you when you're singing, or do you have a different approach?
With singing, obviously I can't just hear a song and be like, oh, like I know this. But if I look at the lyrics one time and I try to sing the song, I can like kind of see it when I'm singing. So it's like, it's very easy for me to remember lyrics. So if I like a song, I'm like, I gotta learn this. So I just read over the lyrics.
And do you get to, when you have the lyrics and the lyrics come with no tones or anything like that, do you is that the fun for you that you get to like take a sentence that a normal person would just speak and you get to sing it and where you go up and where you go down in that sentence structure? Is that the fun part?
Yeah, I think it's just fun to have fun with it, carry the notes, add notes,
and,
just make your own.
And when you're then on stage singing or drumming or anything like that, how much are you guys remembering the plan versus just going with the flow right in the moment of?
Well, I'm definitely thinking, like, I get a little nervous. I'm like, don't mess up. But I'm like, if I do mess up, just keep going, have fun with it. That's always in the back of my mind.
Yeah, and for me with drumming, 99%, I don't want to say 99%, maybe like 98% of the time, I'm making mistakes. But when I make a mistake, I usually just, if I have a certain path of a fill that I'm doing and I mess up, I just change the path of the fill. So my mistakes really make up most of my drumming. And it's not a negative thing at all. I think it's a great thing. It allows you to be more free on the kit and, have fewer worries and just have more fun on the drum set.
That's very interesting because there's two kind of educational schools of thought, at least from more of a traditional sport like mine, where, you go in and you can basically do what you're told to do. And that's the game plan. That's the routine. And you've done 100 of them. Right. But then you can have the athletes that just kind of go and wing it at the competition day. Now, there's research on both sides, but I've always been more, let's say, comfortable with teaching my athletes how to be more freestyle, which is why we're doing the whole freestyle stuff. Because if you can make it up as you go, like you said, you're not as worried then of messing up because you know how to get right back on track, and it almost relieves that tension. Right. Is that what you guys, is that what your strategy is when you say that your mess ups really make you a better drummer?
Yeah, pretty much. But I also make sure to at least, listen to the song, especially the format of the song. And so what I really focus on is more the format of the song, how it's laid out, how my drums can shape the rest of the music. So that's what I mainly focus on, but it's never like specifics or, oh, I'm going to do this fill here, or I'm going to do this, at this point of the song. It's more just, listen to the song, get the feel of the song, and then have fun with the song.
And do you listen to the song like on repeat all the way to the venue?
No, not really. I remember being younger and it was more, I was never stressed. I was never worried like, oh, I'm going to forget this or, I'm not going to remember how to do something. but it was just, I was relaxed in the car ride. I'd relax right before I get on stage, and
You'd
then just
sleep
get it.
in the car.
I'd sleep. And I never sleep, especially as a baby. I was always like crying and stuff. So, I was just really relaxed getting onto the stage, and more just excited, but not anxious.
That is very cool. And then what about after? Like, is it just a relief, like, oh, or is it like, oh man, I was having so much fun, I want them to the crowd to stay there, and it's almost like a letdown when it's over?
What about you? What do you think?
I think for me, sometimes it's like, it's mixed. Sometimes if I mess up, I'm like relieved that it's done, but most of the time I want to do it again and just continue to sing.
That is very cool. That's very cool. Okay, so then now you've done your music, or you've done a venue, you go back home, and now you're thinking, okay, I got whoever next week or next month or something like that, a big concert. You got to start getting yourself into concert mode or whatever it is. What's that process like? Take me kind of through it. Where does it begin? Where you have a brand new booking, then you got to decide what you're going to do for it, and then by the time it's show day, what's your process?
It's hectic.
Yeah.
It's definitely a hectic process.
I think it's like hectic, but it's organized, but hectic.
Organized chaos a little bit. So my dad's going crazy trying to make sure, everything is as controlled as it can be.
Lots of phone calls.
Yeah, but lots of phone calls, lots of emails. And at least on my part, I just get to like play the drums or like just do music. So it's not too big of a thing for me, but it's a lot of practice. It's hours a day of, listening to the set list and practicing for it, and just getting myself more mentally prepared than anything for the actual show.
So it's more of a mental exercise. The skill, the skills, you know how to do the beats and stuff, you know how to sing, but it's just getting mentally okay with it, with potentially a new audience. And I'm going to guess that the calls that your dad is making are trying to get you into bigger and bigger crowds, which might put a little extra pressure on you guys during this process.
Right. And it's always making sure we have the right equipment, that, the time we got to be there when we're doing a sound check. It's those technicalities that he's focusing on.
Yeah. So your dad's more like your manager, and you guys are the athletes in a sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And when you guys are picking a song for your concert or whatever the gig is, do you have a method to your madness there, or is it just kind of whatever sounds good in the radio now, or is it already pre-planned?
For me, I usually go with my
You like doing favorite songs.
I
for
love
sure.
like Alicia Keys. I love her. Any song by
She's
Alicia.
awesome.
I love her.
Okay. So you go to the chart, the big favorites.
Yeah.
Right. And your personal favorites, though, not just necessarily what everybody else's favorite is. It's what you can sing the best.
It's just what I like to do. I'm not always thinking about, oh, am I gonna please this person? I'm like, this is what I want to do. This is good for me. What's comfortable for me.
So you find that rhythm. Do you find that if you were to look back over the last how many years, you would see a pattern in the type of music you pick, or are you just all over the map?
For sure. Definitely like pop, R&B, I'd say. A mix of those.
Okay, very cool. And Julian, what about you?
So I like to keep in mind the type of crowd I'm going to be performing for, like location. And I like to think of also what songs are popular right now. So I try to find a good bit of balance, but if there's a specific song that I know I can kill, or a specific song that I like, then I want to throw that in there as well. Okay.
So you're Annalisa, you're going more after what kind of feels good for you, and Julian, you're kind of going more what potentially feels good for the crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is cool. Well, I love the contrast, because that's what makes these kind of discussions interesting, because, it's very easy to kind of see everyone says the same thing. And whenever something happens politically, everyone knows what they're supposed to say, right? But when you have different people, especially you guys have performed together, that look at it two different ways. I love that. That to me gives a way more three-dimensional approach to your guys' story. And I guess I'll say is that when you guys are looking into the future, where does this go? Do you drum forever, or do you invent your own type of drumming style that no one's ever done? I know you have your own gloves, I think, that if I remember.
I do. Yeah, so I have drum gloves. It's just a glove with the tips of drumsticks on each fingertip, and that started from I saw John Bonham do his solo on Moby Dick, and he was using his hands, and I was like, why doesn't he just put like the tips of drumsticks on the fingers? So, that was the idea, and I think we have a couple right here. Yeah, so this is a prototype that we had. We just took like golfing or baseball gloves and we put the tips of drumsticks on it, and I've used them in shows. So that was something something that I invented, and I thought it was super cool. And here's another one that we have a white pair.
So, like the Michael Jackson gloves.
Yeah.
That is so cool. Well, that's, a lot of people don't think that you can innovate in music. It's like, well, it's just a different type of beat, and maybe it's electro dance now rather than guitar solos or whatever it was. But you're actually coming up with new technology. Aren't you like, I think I read somewhere you're like the world's youngest inventor because of the way
World's youngest inventor, yeah.
So
I'm not sure if that's official, but I've always loved inventing things and creating stuff, and because my dad's a businessman. So even though I've been fully invested in music, I've also loved the business side of things, and, being able to create a business, a product, sell it and market it. And I've always been fascinated by that process.
That is very, very cool. Definitely, yeah, if you can monetize what you got, then there's a million ways to be able to play with that, right?
Right.
But Annalisa, what about you in vocals? So do you see any way to change vocal? Like, is vocals good? Like, are they getting better? Are they getting worse? Has the industry sort of stagnated? What's going on?
I think there are a lot of talented singers for sure, but I think a lot of people that are popular now are kind of forgetting about who really like created singing, you know what I mean? Like Whitney Houston.
Like, the foundation.
Right. And they're definitely changing it, and I think the vocals, the technique at least, in some places it's getting better, but in most places it's not getting the best. I think people
because it's a lot of people just making music more like they'll throw a music video on YouTube just to get some quick cash or anything, and it could be people that don't know anything about music. It's their first song, but because of their popularity in other social media or their presence online, they're able to just throw out something that doesn't sound the greatest, but because of the traction it gets, it allows them to just make some quick money.
And I think now a lot of people are just doing it for money. And back, I don't know, like when music was a lot better, I think people were doing
the craft was more focused on.
Right, and they were doing it for their fans.
Right, and that's not to say that there aren't people today that are doing it because they love the music and the craft, but there are now just more people doing it just to make some money.
Yeah.
Because of technology now, anyone can be an artist.
Exactly.
I passed my Group X class in university. We had to do Group X. Nice. So I don't have a tempo. I'm not very good with my dancing or any of that sort of stuff that you guys do. So what I had to do is go and get Fruity Loops. It was like a software.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So I made my music, and every time I did a 4/4 beat, when I had to change my rhythm, I'd put like a ding or something. I'm like, oh, I know it's coming now, and that's the only way I could pass, right? So I think it's kind of interesting. We see this with social media all the time. When you first start, YouTube comes out, Instagram comes out, and you get 1 million views, and all of a sudden you're God's gift of whatever. But now every kid can do it. So now everyone's just pumping out so much content that honestly, most of it's garbage. You know what I mean? And it's kind of what it's done now is force, the top tier athletes to really have to step even up a notch more, right? Because now you got so much, let's say, junk filtering in. Do you guys feel the same way for music, that it's getting harder to get that big hit?
I think so, because people are just looking for that mainstream sound, that more popular music, when Julian, who's making his own music, his sound,
it's a different. Weird genre. Right. And I remember when I first started making music, I couldn't just like make a rap beat or a trap beat or a UK drill beat. It was a lot of just whatever I felt, and I didn't know how to categorize that. So, And when I first got into music, I was kind of worried a little bit or intimidated by that because it's not something, it's not mainstream a little bit. So, yeah, I didn't even know what to call it, but I'm now more confident in the fact that, this is just my music. This is how I feel. Whether it's mainstream or not, it doesn't really matter.
That is very cool. We're having the same sort of, not debate, but political, whatever you want to call it, between the old Olympic style and then our new freestyle one, which is kind of like what you're doing. We have a bunch of kids that basically say, I'm going to invent my own tricks. I'm going to do my way and do what feels right to me. And yes, there's some risks and stuff like that, but they could learn. But the older traditional sector just assumes that if it's not mainstream, it must be bad. It must be all these terrible things. And they come up with a list. But in reality, you can't really put that category on it, right? If it's what it feels to you, then why not do it? Why do you have to become mainstream just to get by, And so I feel there's a lot of connection here between you guys in the music side and the athletic world over here. But now I've heard terms called like ring song tone rapper or something like this, or ring tone song, something like this, where they just sing for the mainstream. So is there a political sort of thing going here underneath the surface, or is it just everyone doing their own thing?
Like with mainstream music, you mean?
Yeah, does someone that's a little bit more freestyle, kind of like you guys, not you specifically, but someone that's a little out of the box, look at more mainstream stuff, and say, oh, that sucks, or vice versa? Is there any tension there?
Yeah, I think there's definitely people on both sides, and I think that's just how humans have been. It's just some people look at change as a good thing and some people look at change as a bad thing. And there's elitists on both sides. So I definitely think there is some tension, but it's not on a big enough scale to where it's a problem.
Right.
Okay, that's good. Because for us, it's our industry. It's definitely a bit of a problem. They just just cha-cha-cha-cha-cha. So, but it's good that you guys aren't getting there. I'm hoping that it stays settled. And do you think you're going to start seeing more people just kind of go out on their own and not do mainstream, or do you think everyone's eventually just going to try to get a little piece of the mainstream just because it's maybe easier? I'm not sure.
I think the majority of people are definitely going to try to do what's popular and what's mainstream, but I think there are going to be very few people, that are going to really just do something different. And not really like different. I know everyone says, oh, I'm unique, but I think what he's doing is really.
Thank you. I'm interested by your answer, because I think that more people might start moving away from the mainstream because of the technology coming around. So more people are able to get their hands on music technology and make their own music, or really whatever industry. Things are becoming more accessible to the common person. So I feel like, I don't really know. You might be right, just because, people are maybe inexperienced. Let's say with music, for example, they may be inexperienced and they just want to make something that, sounds mainstream just to get themselves out there. But
because not many people are very creative.
Right. But I think at the same time, with more people, there are also more people that will go out of that mainstream, that paved path.
Do you think that's good? That if they go out there and all of a sudden you got some weird instruments that no one's ever heard of starting to.
Yeah, I think that's great, for sure.
I agree 100%. I wonder what you could make an instrument. I could see someone turning a house into an instrument video. Where all different sounds you could have in a house, And
that, people do that though. That's a big part of producing. Actually, it's sampling. So people are able to take just, let's say, pots and pans. That's a basic one. Hit them together, and now you got like a bell noise, and you can make a whole track based off of that one noise.
It's just getting outside of what everyone else is doing. It's almost like the rule of thumb for creating is if someone else has done it, do the opposite. Something like that, just at least as a starting point. And then you brought in producing, and after you did it all, you conquered the world with drumming and all that sort of stuff, you started doing a bit of rap and producing and all that sort of stuff. How did that transition happen?
So I knew that I needed to expand from just drumming, and that I recognized that, and I think probably 8th grade, I was like, I know I can't keep going just doing drumming. You know, I have to expand a little bit, reach some new horizons. So then in 9th grade, I committed to producing music because I knew I was trying to decide a path in life. And I know that, you know, the earlier I can choose that and really commit to something, but know for sure that it is my path, the earlier I can do that, the better chance I'm going to have in making it in whatever I want to do. So I knew I wanted to do something with music. I couldn't just throw my drumming, this whole legacy I've created. I couldn't just throw it away. So I took that and I was thinking about, what's something in music that I could do. And then I thought of producing. And, it's a big world to just jump into. And it was something I wasn't totally sure about. But my mom was able to find a great music teacher, actually Simon Boyar, out in New York. He's a great percussionist, mallet player, jazz player. He does producing, mixing, a lot of different things. He's become my mentor. And so with all these resources, I knew that I could actually do something with production. And that's what I've committed myself to.
And how is production different? So production means you're more now the business guy behind the scenes getting
production. I'm doing the whole band pretty much. I'm playing every part of the band. So sure, I'm doing the drums, but I'm also, I'm doing the piano and I'm doing the bass and the guitar or, the synths and whatever I want to throw in there. I'm doing all of it.
Okay, so you writing the script, so to speak, and then you feel the players to do that instrument or that part of it or something.
Right, and even if I don't get a full band to play it could just be me and Annalisa, because, with the technology, I can make a full track just on the computer I'm using to talk to you. So I can play, every part. I don't necessarily need any other people to play those parts, and it could just be me and Annalisa.
That is really cool. And Annalisa, are you jumping in with the production here, or are you doing your own thing more on the side with more vocal focused?
I'm definitely not as tech savvy. So, I mean, he's asked me for opinions on stuff, so I'll help him with that.
Yeah, she definitely helps critique my music. It's good to hear an outside opinion, even though Annalisa's my sister, she's going to shoot me straight. And if she doesn't like how something sounds, she's going to tell me.
Yeah, I remember he wrote these lyrics.
Yeah.
He wrote these lyrics for this song, and I was like, Julian,
they're terrible.
What? I was like, what is this?
They were terrible.
They were not the best, but.
But I went back and I rewrote them, and she loved the revised version. So it's definitely good to have someone like that. But also because I can hit a note maybe. I can't really sing though, and
he can sing.
I've been trying to practice and get better at it and being more confident with that. But I definitely want Annalisa to be singing with me. So when you say jumping on the production, you've definitely said or promised that you'll be singing on the tracks.
That is really, really cool. So then Annalisa, do you then kind of focus more on the vocals, and then you have to make the production, Julian, on your side match her vocals, or do the vocals match the instruments or the tech, or which leads when you're designing?
Usually he'll do the production first, and I'll create
the track.
I'll just roll with it. Like whatever he writes, I'll do.
Right, but I've also been able to, I can change the track and, add certain things or take away certain things depending on what she sounds like in the song.
Right. Okay. So it's both together. Even it could go either way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's very cool. And now I always remember this story when I was a kid. I was watching when the New Year's celebrations or something like that, and every channel has a new musician on, and they're Smashing Pumpkins on one, and these guys were sweating and going crazy, and I was like, wah! And I think it was like Sean Desmond or something lip syncing on the other channel, and I always remembered the huge difference. I was like, wow. I no offense to Sean Desmond, but I just thought like this is terrible. It doesn't feel like he's actually working at it. Right. So I guess my question is then, do you guys feel that you could put a band together and be able to keep everyone on time? Or is it way better with a computer because you can set the dials this way and that way?
I think with a band, doing it on a computer, it might be easier, but I think with a band, you're really getting a connection with people, and I think it's more authentic, and it's just more fun with more people.
Yeah, so timing is usually, like, I can find people that'll keep time, and they'll play to the tempo. And having a computerized, sure, it's perfect, but then it doesn't feel human either.
Exactly.
So, and the way people, I know one technique to get around that, if you only have a computer, and you don't have anybody else, is you got to personalize it. You take random sounds or, things you find in your household and you put it in there. You put samples of your voice on it, and you have to find a way to make it more relatable almost. And the way to do that is make it more human.
That's a very interesting point. So there is a human element to music at its core.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And can you tell an artist who isn't human at the core or doesn't really quite understand that versus someone who is like, heart and soul kind of thing? Can you tell the difference just by listening to them?
For sure.
I think I can.
Because I think, a lot of people are so focused on, oh, this has to be perfect, but it's like music is all about mistakes,
And I think it's with people that are less mainstream, because a big reason people are mainstream is because people are able to relate to them.
Right.
And that comes from being human. So it's more people that are like less experienced in music. And, I remember my first song I made, I look back on it now and, it's definitely something where it seems more robotic, but the more I've practiced making tracks and listening to more music and really focusing on the music that I listen to, I was able to, add my own feel to it. So I think the music that is less human are the people that are not mainstream, or people that are just getting into music.
Right.
But Dua Lipa with her, I can't even remember the one song she made, but it's the club one. It's on the radio like everywhere. And so she has a bass line in it. And that's the thing I focus on the most in that song. And it just sounds like someone playing the song. So I think she's an example of someone that is mainstream, but it feels more authentic. You know what I mean?
Okay, so it's gotta feel like you did it, and it's almost like where those little, like you said, mistakes and stuff like that add a human element, your own unique sounds that no one else can really produce because you didn't buy it from a $9.99 kit on
right
or whatever it is. You're coming up with your own sound. So I guess maybe the recipe for success would be to go and make a audio record a whole bunch of sounds around your house and start there. And then maybe
that's what my music teacher has told me to do. He's just like, spend an afternoon, just find some cool sounds, record them and save them, and you can either go back into old tracks, find out where you can put them, or find some new tracks and, make some new songs based off of those sounds.
Yeah, that sounds like good advice, at least. But do you ever find that it gets repetitive even as you being a musician, or do you ever struggle to get out of the box?
What do you think?
I think you just have to be yourself. Everyone says that, but you really have to know what you like and what pleases you and just be authentic.
And for me, I naturally have a sound that I would say is not mainstream.
Right.
So with the music I make, it's easy for me to just be myself, because trying to make music in a certain genre, it's harder for me to do that than to just play whatever I feel and put whatever I feel on that track.
Yeah.
Right. And like going back to mainstream and stuff, like, I don't know about you, Drake may be mainstream, but
you like him. He's a great artist.
I love Drake. Like, Drake is definitely one of my favorites.
Oh, I'm not a Drake fan. I find it's very monotone, and
I'm gonna turn you into a Drake fan for sure.
All right, send me some of the best stuff. That is awesome. You ever met Drake?
I wish.
No.
I would love to meet Drake. If I met him, I'd fangirl so hard.
So that's the thing. Even though, it could just be the fact that I'm just not a big fan of his music, and that's why I have these certain opinions about him. But at the end of the day, he's a very smart guy for sure, and he is a great artist. It could just be that I don't, relate to his music as much, and I just don't feel the human really in his music. But I have to give him respect. He's Drake, so at the end of the day, he's a genius, and I can't deny that.
Yeah, no, I think talent gets you 1/3 of the way there. Hard work gets you another third of the way there. And then circumstances also are another big
luck
part.
for sure.
Yeah, but I also think that, people say, oh, well, I'm not in front of Drake, so he'll never pick up my mixtape. I guess I'll give up. Like, no, but you can get out there and put yourself in those lucky positions to be able to do stuff like that. So I think that, and that sounds like what your dad is doing. He's trying to get you in front of all the right people so that someone's going to click with something that you guys are doing and say, hey, by the way, I got this thing over here for you.
Because that's what hard work, I think, does. The more work you put into something, the luckier of a position you're in, So it's not like the hard work is necessarily going to pay out. It's more you just have to, the more hard work you put in, the better chances you have of making it.
Yeah. It's like quantum physics, it's all probabilities. You do it more and more in time. Eventually you'll get there, And who is the most, let's say, decorated artist that you guys have been able to meet or work with?
Let's see.
I think I know my answer.
Okay, you go first.
Okay.
I gotta think.
Bobby Brown. We just were able to, like we said, these lucky positions. We just got in contact with Bobby Brown, and we're working on doing My Prerogative, which is his biggest hit. And we're working on doing a modernized version of it. And so I'm super excited for that. But I think so far, that's probably been the highest up there.
That is very, very cool. When's that releasing, or when's that planned to come out?
We have no idea. We're still in the first stages of it.
It's a surprise.
But we're hopping on a call with him tonight to, catch up, see how we want to start this.
Perfect. Well, that's really, really cool, man. I wish you the best of luck with that.
Thank you.
Annalisa, what about you? You've had some time to think about it. There's got to be somebody.
I think definitely, I hate to be biased. Yeah, I hate to be biased, but definitely him. I think he's just such an inspiration, for real. I look up to you so much. I always have, always will. And I think you're so talented.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I appreciate it. That means a lot coming from you.
Aww.
That's sweet. You guys are always sweet little kids too. And now you guys are all grown up, and it's still the same sort of love, passion. I love it. You guys are great. But
thank you.
As we kind of wrap this up a little bit more, do you think that the whole music industry is going up? Is it going down as a whole? Is it just getting more dirty, like you're talking about, with more just people throwing crap against the fan? Or where do you think this is all going?
I think there's some artists that are definitely doing it different, but there are a lot of artists who are just kind of trying to throw things in the mix, make it sound good.
Yeah, at least from my perspective, music is definitely changing. And whether you see it as progressing or, going backwards, it's just how you feel about music already. So if you've always someone that's been an elitist for old music, you're going to see music as, at least today, as just going backwards in time, in the sense that it's devolving. But at least for me, I think it's, change is good. And to see that the music industry is just changing at all, I think that's a great step.
Yeah, everything evolves, everything changes for good or for bad. It's about what you make of it rather than waiting for it to make you.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I would say that I think I agree with you earlier. We were talking about where, the younger generations now coming in, they don't appreciate the history of it, where you don't have to, love all the old guys like Zeppelin and all that sort of stuff, but you just know what they did and know their story. So you know how you got here, because that will help you make better decisions on where not to repeat history. And I think the athletic world is kind of still making this mistake. Sounds like you guys are on the same boat. And it's sad. Like, no one even knows. I go to Olympic facilities and they don't even know who invented the trampoline.
Wow.
You know, that's like, well, who offended
I don't know
the
if
guitar?
I don't
either, though.
Well, yeah, but you guys are trampoline guys, you know.
We're not
So,
in the
but
industry. Okay.
yeah, it'd be crazy. It'd be like you guys not knowing who Michael Jackson is. He was like, wait, who?
Yeah.
What? You know, and I think that's that's something our industry is kind of struggling with a little bit. But
Yeah.
kind of interesting to hear it from your perspective as well. So I guess as we wrap this up, guys, before I know this is probably bad, but I would love to hear you guys actually maybe throw down a rap riff or a song or something like that. I'm not sure if you guys are okay with that. But before you get into that, I'll let you think about it.
You gotta sing. Yeah, Annalisa's gonna take the stage on this one.
Okay.
No, I don't want to sing with you. You're good.
Okay, I'm gonna sing the chorus of "You Are the Reason" by Calum Scott. I love that song. It's so good. So. I'd climb every mountain and swim every ocean just to be with you and fix what I broken. Oh, 'cause I need you to see you are the reason.
That was
Wow.
awesome. I really like. I don't know how you hit that note. How do you get that high? For me, I'm like, like that's it.
It's all in your diaphragm. Oh my God, breath support. I have this one vocal teacher in New York who taught me so much about breath support. She was like, it's so important. She's like, right before, it's all about control. You know, you have to take these deep breaths and you have to know how to control it. And it's hard. You get used to it and it's just kind of like
becomes easier.
Right. It's like practicing math, you know. It sucks at first, but it gets a lot easier.
Is all about just taking a breath and you have like a volume of air and then controlling the release of it?
Yeah.
Yes. And it's at first for me it was so difficult because I remember like when I was younger I'd struggle sometimes to hit those notes, but now getting older I like know how to control it, so it's a lot easier.
That is very, very cool. I was told by my music teacher that people can learn how to do those hardcore, like, yelling songs, that actually takes skill. Like, we just think like, oh my God, that guy's really pissed off at his parents. You know, what's he yelling about? You know, but then it's like, well, it's like, no, Greg, you actually have to learn how to do those really deep sounds. Is that true?
I think it's definitely, you know, you have to learn how to do it, but you also have to have that confidence. And if you tell yourself, you know, I can do this, then you can do it. If you just work for it and you put your mind to it, I think you can do anything.
That's awesome. Great parting words there. And I guess, Julie, we'll start off with you here. Do you have any piece of advice for any young musicians that are trying to come up and leave a legacy like you have?
Yes. It's definitely just, you have to make sure you're completely committed to, you know, music. If you're just half into it, or, you know, you can do things as a hobby, but if you do want to get into music, you just have to jump in head first.
You have to love it.
Yeah, for sure. So you have to jump in with, you know, no regrets, and you have to forget about, you know, what any other people are saying, or, you know, any doubts that people might have. But it's, you know, you have to make sure you love it first of all, but second, that you put all your effort into it and you just jump in and get immersed with it.
When you mean immerse, like what kind of, like, how do you know when you're like, if I'm a child, okay, so I want to get into music, I want to put a couple hours in, how do I know if I love it or not? Is there any way to tell, or is there any metrics that you'll know, oh, if you're doing this, therefore you love it? Or is it just more of a personal feeling?
So I'll talk about my production, because that's something, you know, I've been drumming my whole life. I don't necessarily remember the point when I was like, oh, I'm going to drum for the rest of my life. But with production, this is something I've taken on recently. And I know that I love it because when I'm working on tracks, I don't stop until I feel that this one thing is perfect, you know?
And you want to do it.
Exactly.
You're always saying, I got to go home, I got to do this.
Yeah.
Or I want to do this.
Right. And at least for me, though, it's something that I have to do because, you know, you should have this feeling that if you don't do it, you messed up. And if you don't put the time in, you made a mistake, and now you got to go back and put some extra time in. you should feel almost guilty in a way if you miss out on those opportunities. But when you do put the time in, you should feel proud, but not to the point where you can just, take a break,
Right.
or just stop, or, stop working on music. It's just a great goal to have that should just push you even more. So, and also it's when you encounter an obstacle, or let's say you're almost having like writer's block, but for music, do you take that as discouragement or encouragement? That's, I think it's a big distinction to have. It's when you're having trouble in the thing that you love, does that encourage you to keep going, or do you want to quit? And if you want to quit, then you don't love it.
That is very interesting. But then, okay, so I got to poke a little bit here. How do I know the difference between that you just love it and you're going through the process like you're talking about, versus just, life sucks sometimes, grandma died or this happened or whatever the case is, and that just kind of it makes you a little depressed to the point where you don't want to write the music. Does that happen? Or if you really love it, you would use the music as an escape from those bad things?
I think
definitely as an escape. And that's what, that's kind of it's what I used it for a little bit. Because, moving up to New York, it was tough for me. I didn't feel necessarily completely accepted in the school. I didn't feel like I blended well. All I kept thinking about was moving back to Michigan, seeing my old friends, going back to my old school. And that's why I think my music is a little bit unique. It is strictly just how I feel. And, I used my music as a way to talk about things going on in my life, especially with my lyrics. So that's when I came back with that second draft of lyrics, that's why it was good. It's because, I was speaking from my heart. I was creating and telling a story, which is really the story just going on in my life at the moment.
That's very cool. Telling a story. Well, I love the story you guys have been telling me, and just kind of getting to know you guys a little bit more now that you're grown up, and a little bit more, got your head kind of wrapped around what you're doing. So I really appreciate your time. And Julian, we're going to get you back on sometime to do some drumming, man.
For sure. I'd love to. We have to.
At least I'd have to show you up, man. That's all.
I know. Come on. You can't. Yeah, I'm going to have to jump back on the show and, I want to school you.
All right, guys, I thank you so much. And I really wish you guys the best of luck. We're rooting for you. We always have been. And we'll get you guys back on our show sometime maybe. And if I'm ever back in Detroit, hopefully after all this COVID stuff, then let's definitely.
We have to do something.
We'll do another trampoline session. You can give me another drum lesson.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, Greg, we love you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It was a pleasure, having this talk with you.
Thanks a lot, guys. And say thank you to your dad for helping set this whole thing up. He's been an amazing mentor of ours as well over the years. He was one of our first sort of believers back in the day.
Awesome.
So huge shout out to him. And thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you so much, Greg.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed and learned a few things. There's a big world out there worth exploring, and I'm happy to be able to bring these great experiences right to you through this podcast. If you enjoyed this podcast and learned something, please share and take a screen grab of our funky cartoons and hashtag GRT certified for a chance to win a shout out to our community. Also, please leave us a review to be part of helping this information get out into the industry. It's much appreciated. Along with these podcasts, we have a large online content hub that we call the GRT Network, with many other interviews and full tutorials and written content discussing everything about acrobatics. We will be constantly growing this archive of videos like a cross between Netflix and Wikipedia for anyone in the acrobatic industry. We also have a complete online educational program for athletes of all levels that provides a do-it-yourself pathway to success for any acrobat. Check out our constantly growing library of playlists that will teach you anything from tightening up your social media, to how to get around fear, to even learning all the biology that underlies all your acrobatic skills. We work very hard with our team around the world to provide this exclusive content for you, and appreciate any donations made to the FTA to help keep these episodes coming at you. And if you want all the content, become a GRT Network full member to get exclusive content before everyone else and access to special discounts and giveaways through our amazing global partners. Thanks guys, see you next episode.
How good does it feel?
It's so good. I haven't done this since the 80s.